The views and opinions expressed by the following program are those of the host, guests, and callers and are not necessarily those of this station or Webster Rock Hill Ministries, its management, or other hosts or underwriting sponsors. Programs presented by KWRH-LP are for educational and entertainment purposes only.
Well, good morning, St. Louis. This is In Tune with Arnold Stricker and
Ellie Wharton.
Hey, we have the summertime has arrived, Ellie.
You know what? This is the first Friday in like an eon of eons that it's sunny.
You're correct. You're correct.
And it's supposed to be sunny. Is it supposed to be sunny all weekend?
I think Sunday is a rain day.
Oh, I'm not supposed to bang the table, am I?
No, but for our listeners in Listenerland, they will know that today is a very bright and sunny day. It's a staccato day.
It is a staccato day. And and with our first guest, he brings sunshine in a box, doesn't he?
He brings sunshine in a box. But first, In Tune's a 2-hour weekly broadcast which focuses and reflects on issues that impact and connects our community and the greater St. Louis area. Our topics include the arts, crime, education, employment, faith, finance, food, history, housing, humor, and justice. So, sunshine in a box. We have Michael Shipley from Bring Me A Book here in studio. Michael, welcome to In Tune.
Thanks, Arnold. Thanks, Ellie.
Yeah.
I've always been a big fan of the radio, and I'm really happy to see all the great things happen at 92.9 over the last couple of years. It's really a really good thing.
And I'm a big fan of books.
So am I.
Let me tell you, you come into my house, I have little libraries everywhere.
They're just not stacks of books.
No. They're libraries. I mean, we have built shelves all throughout my house. My father built shelves all throughout the house. And everywhere you go, there's libraries of books. And even if you come into my little office here, you'll see already every time we have authors, they bring books and they sign them for me. And I got a little library starting in there.
And you don't have libraries of screens?
No.
Okay.
No, I have books.
I
think I've given Arnold a couple of books and he never returned.
Yeah, I read them and gave them back. Yes, I did. Hey, Michael's here from Bring Me A Book, and I love this on the website. Improving attitudes about reading at home and school. What an important aspect of anybody from birth to when you die is reading and the ability to be able to read, but especially in 0 to 5.
That's right.
0 to 5. Michael, talk a little bit about the importance of that span of time and why that is critical for kids.
Well, if you just want to start with like brain development, for example, the brain development and the brain connections you make when you have a baby at home, and you start working on that as they mature and they get a little older. At age 0, you can start reading to your child, and them just hearing the words come out of your mouth and go into their ears is one of the most important things about childhood development in reading, because having them see you manipulate a book is also important. We have, there's a handful of kids at a school that we serve over in Illinois that the teachers have told me every year there's a handful of kids that show up that don't even know how to manipulate a book. They've never picked up a book. They've never opened a book. I mean, so just even little things like that. It's hard to believe.
That is hard to believe. My goodness. I mean, just don't even know how to open a book. Wow.
A foreign object. It's literally a foreign object to some of these. I'm talking a very small percentage.
Right, but still,
but even if that happens to one. That's right. Child.
It's a loss.
Yes.
And when we did the book giveaway here, I remember we had a lady who was pregnant, and she ordered the books because she was already reading to her child in utero.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yes, that's there's some quotations from Jim Trelease. He wrote a book on reading aloud to kids. They say you can read aloud to your some families read aloud all the way through high school together. It's also a good camaraderie for the family.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And books, audiobooks, I mean, we all know the importance of that. I mean, once you start reading novels and things, you as someone is reading to you, you're thinking about other things as opposed to reading yourself. So there's some research on that's positive.
And the vocabulary development, because books, they use words that you wouldn't ordinarily use in your day-to-day conversation. And it's always amazing to me when I see words that I don't recognize or don't quite understand. I stop and I look it up so that I know, now I understand the context, and then that helps me. And then I try to go out some and then use that word.
Yes.
So I sound really smart.
I mean, and there's also visual literacy. So like there's a lot of books these days that have won a New York Times bestseller that are literally have no words in them. It's just the artwork, the illustration. So if you're a parent that maybe a struggling reader, Arnold brought that up. What about those parents that are struggling readers themselves? You don't necessarily need to be reading the words on the page for them to tell your child a story about a book. And we know all parents, they add things to books that it's fun just to keep the kids interested, get them excited about reading. That's what we do. And the other thing I was going to mention, one of our programs talking about vocabulary is the classroom library program. So when we started in St. Louis about 2014, and we were a satellite office of Bring Me A Book out of San Francisco. And now we are an independent 501c3 charity in St. Louis. But what one of the programs they've emphasized there, and that we've brought to St. Louis, and we've put over 100 of these classroom libraries in different classrooms across St. Louis. At one school, we have 27 classroom libraries.
Wow.
Northside Community School in North St. Louis. And one of the most important things about the classroom libraries is the kids are reading the same books over and over again. So they're library quality curated literature that we put on the bookshelves.
Right.
And when a child sees that same word over and over again, they all have their favorite books. They've written us thank you notes, and they all emphasize their favorite books. Well, that's great. There's one called Building Our House. It's a really good book that we've put on the bookshelves. And this little guy, I remember his little thank you note, wrote about that book. So he reads that book over and over again, and he's remembering those words.
And
Right.
that's very, very typical of kids at night when parents read to them. And I really encourage parents to read to their children at night before they go to bed. And many times you will have read that story 100 times, but the child still wants to hear it and knows exactly all the words.
That's right.
And like if you skip a page, they'll go, no, you missed this part right here. So they like hearing that. It's a comfort to them. It helps put them to sleep. It's something that really, what you were saying earlier, Michael, it imprints on their brain. You're making some brain connections, some building that connection in the brain.
Our family we have 4 kids. My wife Leah and I have 4 children, and they're younger kids. And I've tried when they've gotten upset before out there in Radioland. If you have kids, or if you just are an uncle or an aunt or
Listener land.
a grandparent, if a child is upset, try grabbing a book. Try to start reading the book. It works sometimes. They'll just get right into the book, and then they'll forget. You don't want to necessarily let them forget why they're upset. Talk to them about that later, but it can calm them down.
Right.
Books can be soothing.
Right.
And I've always believed that the bigger the library, the bigger the bank account. And I heard that in a movie years ago when a guy was talking about that. The bigger the library, the bigger the bank account, because it expands your possibilities. It expands your understanding, and it gives you that ability to be able to go into the world with a greater sense of your own expertise.
Yes. That's why we like to give children the classics, the classic literature, and newer titles.
Yeah, but don't make them read Beowulf. Please don't make them read Beowulf.
Well, and they can even take a vacation without even leaving their room.
That's right.
Reading about faraway places and getting to know different destinations through their reading, whether it be a novel
like
or whether
Gulliver's
it be nonfiction.
Travels.
Yes,
Yes,
things
and
like
I
that.
wear glasses today. I will tell you. I started wearing glasses in first grade. By first grade, I was literally blind, because when I was a kid, I would take my little flashlight and make my little tent in the bed at night and be reading books, because my parents always had plenty of books. So I was always reading. By the time I got into school, I couldn't see.
I guess the reason I can't hear is because I was listening to Cardinal baseball games
there
on
you
my
go.
transistor radio.
That's right. Oh, your transistor.
Yeah. So, Michael, you talked about the classroom libraries, and there are kind of 3 other areas that you have: the home library book boxes, the book bus bookmobile, and the Read to Me take-home books. Can you mention a little bit about each one of those and how they work?
So the school that I was talking about in East St. Louis, the Read to Me take-home books. So at that school, there's a really engaging teacher, a pre-K teacher, who is really into the program. So it helps if when you go into a classroom or into a school, that the principal's on board and the teacher's on board. So what happens is there's 25 different books. They all come in a canvas bag. And in each bag, there's a learning prompt that matches the book that's in the bag. And what happens is that kids cycle through. So they bring bag one. They're all numbered in the classroom. They're all like on a chart. We have a chart up there. It's all organized. And so child Joe will take home book number 1, and then the next week that same child will take home book number 2, and throughout the school year he'll have gone through all 20 books.
Wow.
And then they'll just repeat after 20 weeks you just repeat and read those the same books again. But what it is it's a direct effort to get the family reading, especially in pre-K and kindergarten and first grade. And we do it at another school, St. Cecilia comes to mind, in South St. Louis. And at that school, the kindergarten books are in Spanish. And by the time the child has started to read in English, the first grade books are then in English, the take-home books. So that's kind of the emphasis with that program.
So how do you know which schools to go to? What criteria do you, as Bring Me a Book, use to take books to schools?
I mean, mainly it's the relationship with the administration. If you walk in and you feel like you're going to make an impact. And then another barometer is the National School Lunch Program by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Most of the schools we serve are 100%. The kids qualify for free or reduced lunch. And so we use that. And of course, like I said before, you want the books to be appreciated. You want them to be used. We serve a school in Warrenton, and we partner with the Sci Foundation. It's a nonprofit foundation. They have a grant program. We've been awarded a grant for the last 2 years. The Sci Foundation, they sponsored classroom libraries, which I've already talked about, for 7 of their classrooms. And that day, all the kindergartners and first graders came out of their rooms in Warrenton at Rebecca Boone Elementary, and they all said thank you.
Wow.
So I mean, it was really great, and those kids are still reading those books.
That's great.
Well, and here we have a dedicated hour to the children, Monday through Thursday, Saturdays and Sundays, the Children's Reading Hour. And we've had it ever since we've been on the air. And the whole idea is to provide children. We do it, like I said, from 3 to 4 because we figure they're just getting out of school. They may be in the car or on their way home or going to pick up another sibling. But mom can turn on or dad can turn that story on and listen to different stories. And we intersperse it with children's songs and make it exciting. But a wonderful family, the Rao family, they sponsored it for the entire year.
How great.
Just a family. Mm-hmm. And what's good about that is that it keeps people engaged. It lets the listening audience know that we are dedicated to the children as well. And we did it well before there was a sponsorship. So it's not like it was tied into having a sponsorship.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But it's also when we did Give STL Day. I don't know if you all participated in that.
Yes, we did.
Okay,
yes.
Great. And We Stories, I'm sure you're familiar with the folks.
Yes.
Adelaide Lancaster and Farrell. And they started right here in Bristol
right.
School. And I think they were the second highest donated group. I think they did like over $50,000.
Wow.
Yes.
Again, for reading and getting stories out to children. I mean, theirs is very specific in terms of diversity and
yes.
Engaging children in anti-discrimination and things like that. But
yes.
Again, I was so pleased to see that reading was so important.
Yes, it is. Just getting kids engaged into books, sparking their imaginations is what we like to say. And Arnold's talked about it before. Bring Me a Book St. Louis is about having kids enjoy reading, having kids finding the joy in reading and finding good books for them to read.
That's
so that's
right.
something that we also like to do. Curating, we all know that there's children's literature out there that isn't so great. And what I like to do is, especially with our book bus that Arnold mentioned.
I was going to go down that road here.
I
in a
love
second.
that concept of the book bus.
Talk about that because that actually came to Webster Groves.
Yes. Well, our offices are on Gore, and so the book bus is a program that the board and myself, the Bring Me a Book, our board of directors and myself decided it was a good opportunity for us to really engage with the community maybe outside the classroom in some respects. We go to housing developments and we give away books. But if you think about it, the St. Louis County Library System, they do great things. They have a great bookmobile program. The St. Louis City Library, they haven't had bookmobiles in quite some time. So I think it's a good opportunity for us to kind of fill some of the gap and get kids. You guys remember when you were excited about the bookmobile when you were kids?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yes. So
that and the ice cream truck.
there's nothing better. And you're both welcome to join us, or anybody else, if they want to see the bookmobile, let me know, or bring it to your school. But having the kids, their face light up when they walk onto that bookmobile,
Absolutely.
is just if you can imagine, we have one wall of books, so the jackets face the kids. You can see a picture of it on our website, but bringmeabook.stl.org, and then we have a couple bookshelves where we kind of store books like a traditional bookmobile, but having the book jackets face the children as they walk in, their eyes light up, and they're like. We have a program where we partner with the Horizon Housing Foundation, and each kid gets a wooden book box that we were talking about before, book box home library. Right. So every child at some of these housing developments that we apartment complexes that we visit, they get 5 books, any 5 books on the book bus, and then they take home a wooden book box. So this is a really good thing that it's really kind of opened a lot of people's eyes, and and there's a story about it. There's a link to KSDK. They did a story on the book box, and they're made by the St. Louis Woodworkers Guild, and we partner in buying the material, and then the Woodworkers Guild, they have over 150 members, and there's quite a few of them that are part of this separate group that builds the book boxes, and they're all hobbyist woodworkers, and they've been making toys for kids in the local area hospitals, little wooden toys for years, and then this is another new program that they've thought can make an impact.
Those kids are starting their own library. It's a place they can keep their books, just like you were talking, Ellie, where your father built those bookshelves.
Those bookshelves have been there forever.
Because when you have something like that, and man, you really enjoy it, it's precious to you.
It is. It is. It's very precious. And even with my youngest grandchild, she has her own shelf of books, and so that her books it's not a part of our other bookshelves. She has her own bookshelf.
Yes.
And that's where she puts her books, she puts her dolls, she puts her little niños, everything, and that's her space.
Yes.
And so when she gets ready to leave and everything is all over the house, we say, okay, it's cleanup time. Clean up, everybody. And and she knows to take everything back to her shelf.
Yes. Well, that's what we like to emphasize. And a lot of the students that we serve are transient, so they might be moving. So this is another opportunity for them to carry that to their next
yes,
location,
it doesn't
their next
just
home.
get thrown away because it's the book, they don't need that, and the next thing you know, it's in the trash.
Yes,
which I can't ever imagine a book being in the trash.
And the other great thing about the bookmobile is that there's a lot of organizations in town that are doing great things, giving books to kids. I don't want to underestimate them.
No, you're right.
But what's great about the bookmobile is it gives the choice to the child.
Right.
They can pick what they think they might want to read.
Well, the nice thing is the bookmobile comes to them. It's if you're not within walking distance of a library, that you're kind of at some mercy and waiting for things to come around, and then have the bookmobile come around. That's what's a great thing for that. That's tremendous.
Because we had coupled with the Rotary Club.
Yes.
And that was a good way, because the Rotary then they not only funded it, but then Rotarians delivered the books to the homes.
How great.
So
great project.
That way, it was a great project. And I'm going to tell you, too, just kind of an aside. See, I've lived in other countries. And when I lived in Belize, where kids are walking for miles to get to just the main road, and you're in these little villages, having a library close by, that was the one thing that we saw that these children did not have. And we put 2 libraries in 2 different villages. And one woman who lived in Atlanta sent us barrels of books. And we were able to put these books into and make a library in these communities, because these children were not able to get to it. So looking at some of the poorer countries where children really have very limited access to books, library system is almost non-existent, could be a great mission project for an organization like this, especially a country like Belize, Honduras, those kind of countries that are very, very poor. They have small villages. Mm-hmm. This could go a long, long way.
Michael, quick question on, you mentioned some workshops that you do with parents, and this is going to link back to our very first conversation we had when we started the show today about the brain.
Yes. Well, so when we have workshops with parents like it, we partner with various organizations that provide assistance to parents, and even in schools. So like on Parent-Teacher Night, we'll have a little workshop, parent-teacher workshop. And so each child gets a book at the end of the workshop. But one thing we do is, one thing that I was mentioning to you, Arnold, was that we do this brain exercise and brain development. So all the people in the workshop, even the children, we get in one big circle. We have one ball of yarn, and we pass the ball of yarn. The first part of the exercise is you pass the ball of yarn back and forth. It makes a spider web between all the people standing there. When you explain to the group that when you're sorting socks, or when you're looking at street signs, or when you're looking at trees, driving in the car, or just talking about everyday occurrences, little things you talk about with kids, that's creating brain development and brain connections. So, and those are the brain connections that those kids will have for the rest of your life. You don't lose your brain connections. And then the second part of the exercise is you pass that same ball of yarn back and forth to the same 3 people in the group. So you had the big spider web, and then you can imagine a little one going back to the same 3 people maybe 3 or 4 times, and it makes a tight little triangle. And then that's what you're doing when you're reading to your children every night. You're really, really hammering on on creating those same brain connections.
Strengthening them.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a better adjective.
Fortification of brain.
Of the brain, of the synapse there, you
Right.
know? That's
Yes.
fabulous.
But that's huge. And what a great exercise for parents to really visually see that what's going on inside a kid's head.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And it's just reading and getting in the mode of reading every night. Children we all know that they love habits, you know, and they get into, if you can really emphasize reading every night. I know most parents out there do, but kids expect it when it's not, when you're, wait, we're not reading tonight?
Right. What's wrong with you? That's right. What's wrong with you?
You have a fever or something?
Yeah. I mean, so we were at the fair until 9:30. Well, we have to read. I had one more thing I wanted to.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
So a big thing happening with Bring Me a Book is that we are partnering with the St. Louis Area Food Bank, and it's really exciting. Yesterday, we delivered 5,000 books.
Wow.
Holy smokes.
Well, I mean, almost 5,000 books. We have a commitment to give them 5,000 books. So what we did is we went out there and we unloaded the entire book bus. It's going to be called the Summer Food Program. Every child, they're going to give basically boxes.
That's for you.
We're applauding you.
They're going to give food and other things to 5,000 kids. The same kids might be receiving a box over and over again, but it's to fill the summer food gap that you might have in some of these communities.
It's food
Yes.
for your mind as well as your stomach.
That's right. And that's what it has to be. You know, you can't just feed people. And that's what I always say about missions, you know, when they go on these mission trips and it's like, well, we're doing this, we're going to paint this school. Well, you know, people could paint the school at midnight.
Yes.
The locals can. But
So-
when you come in with things like that,
That's great.
On June 4th, they're
Yes.
having a big launch event at the St. Louis Area Food Bank. And each box will contain breakfast, lunch, and dinner items to supplement the food needs of a family of 4 for 2 days.
kudos.
Boxes will be distributed for 13 weeks, reaching 5,000 families in Belleville, Cahokia, St. Louis City, and Delwood. Yeah, I can go on, but it's going to be a really good program.
Excellent.
And every box will be a book.
For more information, you can log on to bringmeabook.stl.org, bringmeabook.stl.org. Michael, thanks for coming on the show today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
This is Arnold Stricker with Ellie Wharton of In Tune. You're listening to KWRHLP 92.9 FM, your community radio station in Webster Groves, Missouri.